somewhere on that dark, empty road. I realized the driver wasn't the only one in the car with me, and whoever was whispering wasn't supposed to be there. I don't usually take Ubers at midnight. I'm a pretty cautious person, and I live in a quiet part of town where rides can take a while to arrive. But that night, I'd stayed late at a friend's place, one of those casual movie nights that somehow stretch until 1 a.m. without anyone realizing. I wasn't about to walk 30 minutes home alone, so I called for a ride. The app said 6 minutes. Driver's name, Cal. Black Chevy Impala. 4.9 stars. When it pulled up, I hesitated for a second. The car looked older than the one in the picture to steer, like it hadn't been washed in weeks, but the license plate matched. And the guy in the front looked like the driver's profile. Older man, maybe mid-50s, unshaven, heavy bags under his eyes, but polite. "You, Laura?" he asked. Yeah, I nodded, sliding into the back seat. The car smelled faintly like stale cologne and something else I couldn't place. Not terrible, but off. We pulled away from the curb in silence. The streetlights got fewer and farther between. I live on the edge of town, so long empty stretches of road aren't uncommon. No other cars. Just the sound of tires on pavement and the quiet hum of the radio playing something instrumental and slow. A few minutes into the ride, I started to feel a little uneasy. Not because of the driver, he barely spoke, but because I kept hearing a soft, irregular noise, faint and muffled, like fabric rubbing or maybe distant breathing. I thought it might be the radio at first, but when I leaned closer to the speaker by the door, the sound wasn't coming from there. I leaned back. That's when I heard it. Whispering, very faint. Just behind me, like someone breathing words through a trembling mouth. I froze, holding my breath. It came again clearer this time. A wet, broken whisper. Just 2 words, "Help me." I jerked forward, heart hammering. The driver glanced at me through the mirror. "You all right?" he asked calmly. I tried to play it off. "Yeah, just thought I heard something weird." He didn't respond, just kept driving. My mind raced. I looked around the car. There was nothing on the seats. No phone playing audio, nothing in the footwells. Then I noticed something strange. The trunk light flickered for a second in the rearview mirror, like someone had tried to open it but couldn't. I turned around slowly and stared at the trunk. There was a thin reddish smear near the edge of the lid, just above the keyhole, dried, faint. But it hadn't been there when I got in. I was sure of it. Then the whisper came again. "Please." This time it was followed by a thump, very quiet, but undeniably from the inside of the trunk. I leaned forward. "Hey, bud, is your trunk okay?" I thought I heard. Before I could finish, the driver turned the volume on the radio way up. Too loud, way too fast. I looked at him in the mirror. He wasn't blinking, just staring straight ahead. His hands tightened on the wheel. "Almost there," he muttered. But I hadn't said where I lived. I hadn't told him my address. My mouth went dry. I fumbled for my phone and tried to check the trip status. No ride in progress. Like the app had reset. I glanced at the door handle. No child lock, thank God. My fingers curled around it. Then the trunk made a louder thud. And this time, a choked sob followed it. That was it. "I'm getting out," I said loudly, trying not to let my voice shake. The driver didn't respond, just pressed down on the gas. I yanked the handle. Nothing. He'd locked the doors. "Let me out," I shouted. Still no response. His face was pale now, almost waxy in the dashboard light, like he wasn't even fully present, just driving, staring, breathing through his nose with this strange, detached calm. I looked for the lock switch, found it, slammed my thumb down. Click, opened the door, still moving, and threw myself onto the shoulder of the road. I hit the gravel hard, rolled, and scraped up my hands, but I didn't care. I scrambled up just in time to see the car disappear into the trees, still moving, still humming, still carrying that whispering voice inside the trunk. I ran into the woods and called the cops. Gave them the name, the car, the plates, everything I could remember. They found the car 3 hours later, abandoned, doors wide open. Still running, but the trunk? Empty? No one ever found the driver? Or whoever or whatever was whispering inside. But sometimes when I'm alone at night, I'll hear faint crying from outside my window, like someone whispering through metal. And sometimes I wonder if I was ever meant to get out. My Uber arrived on time, slowed in front of me, and inside, I saw myself already sitting in the back seat. I was standing outside my apartment at 11:38 p.m., phone in hand, wrapped in a heavy coat against the October wind. The city was unusually quiet for a Friday night. My street sat on the edge of downtown, just far enough for it to feel empty after dark, but close enough to still hear distant sirens and the occasional train. I had ordered an Uber to meet some friends at a late-night diner a few neighborhoods over. Nothing dramatic. Just coffee and greasy food and gossip until we got tired. I wasn't scared, just tired and cold and ready to get in a warm car. The app said my driver, Martin, was 2 minutes away. Black Honda Accord, 4.8 stars, the usual. I looked both ways down the street, scanning for headlights. And then I saw them bright beams slowly approaching from the east, illuminating the slick pavement in pale gold. My phone buzzed. Your Uber has arrived. I stepped off the curb. The black Accord coasted toward me, slowed to a near stop in front of the building, and that's when my stomach flipped. In the back seat behind the driver was me, or someone who looked exactly like me. Same coat, same messy bun, same anxious posture with both hands clasped in her lap. She stared out the window and met my eyes. And then, the car kept driving. It didn't stop. No roll-down window, no confirmation of my name. It's just a slow crawl past me. Then acceleration as it disappeared around the corner. I stood there, frozen. Wind biting my cheeks, heart suddenly thudding way too hard. I stared down at my phone again, thinking maybe I imagined it. Maybe I saw someone who just resembled me. Maybe the app glitched. But the app still said, your driver has arrived. Waiting nearby, I tapped to call the number linked to the driver. 1 ring, 2, then a click, but no one spoke. There was just breathing, ragged, shallow, like someone was holding the phone too close, trying not to make a sound, but failing anyway. I hung up. Now it wasn't just cold. I was sweating under my coat. I backed up to the doorway and messaged the group chat. Hey, something weird just happened. Might be late. Right as I hit send, my phone buzzed again. A new message from a number with no name attached. It's just 4 words. You're not supposed to see. That was it. No punctuation. Nothing else. I instinctively turned to go back inside, fumbling for my keys, but the door had locked behind me. My building's entrance always clicked shut if you didn't prop it open. I turned around to the street again. No cars, no lights, but I felt watched. The kind of feeling that crawls down your back and makes you check over your shoulder again and again. I reopened the Uber app to cancel the ride, but now the entire trip history was gone. No current ride, no record of Martin, no ride at all scheduled that night, like I'd never ordered it. I tried refreshing, reopening, still nothing. I even restarted my phone, still nothing. Finally, after what felt like a full hour but was probably 10 minutes, completely different Uber pulled up. This one was a white Prius, female driver, young, friendly, real, warm. I hesitated as she rolled down the window. Are you Megan? She asked, eyebrows raised. I nodded. Yeah, that's me. I got in, and she talked the whole way to the diner. I didn't say much, but the entire ride, I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see her. Me, still sitting there, watching me from the shadows of that other car. I reported the whole thing to Uber the next day. They said no account matching Martin had been active in my area that night. No black Honda Accord had been logged near my address. They thanked me for bringing it to their attention, and that was it. It's been 3 months since that night, but sometimes late at night I'll get a notification on my phone. From Uber, from Lyft, even DoorDash. Your order has arrived. Driver is waiting. Look outside. But I didn't order anything, and when I do look outside, sometimes I see headlights. I'm a figure in the back seat, wearing my coat. The man who drove me home didn't blink once, and when I reported him, Uber replied. That account was deactivated. The driver passed away last September. It It was a rainy Thursday night in October when I left my friend's apartment. I'd stayed later than I planned, and the streets were slick, empty, and echoing with the occasional hiss of passing tires. I didn't want to walk to the subway, so I ordered an Uber instead. A black Toyota Corolla pulled up within 2 minutes. The driver's name on the app was Daniel, 4.9 stars, over 1,000 rides. The profile photo showed a guy maybe in his early 40s, clean-shaven, sharp features. Nothing unusual. The car was spotless. But the first thing I noticed when I got in was how cold it was. Naturally cold, like someone had left the windows open in a snowstorm. I glanced at the vents. No air was blowing. The AC wasn't even on. Daniel didn't say anything when I got in. No hello? No how's your night? Just nodded slowly and pulled away from the curb. Fine, I thought. The first 10 minutes were uneventful. Followed the route, no detours, no weird questions. But then I noticed the smell. Faint but definitely there. A musty, earthy scent, like wet leaves and something older, something rotting beneath the surface. I shifted in my seat and glanced up at the rearview mirror. He was staring straight ahead, not blinking, not moving. I tried breaking the silence. Long night, nothing. He didn't even nod this time. We passed under a streetlight and his face caught the glow. That's when I noticed something was off. His skin looked almost gray in the light, not pale gray. Like the color had been drained out of him. The hairs on my arms stood up. I checked the app to make sure I hadn't gotten into the wrong car. But everything matched the license plate, the name, even the profile photo. But the man driving didn't look like his picture anymore. Same bone structure, sure. But his eyes were darker, sunken, and he hadn't blinked once. I decided to text a friend, just in case. Hey, in an Uber, something feels weird. Just keep your phone close. We turned down a side street. It wasn't a major detour, but it wasn't the optimal route either. Google says the main road would be faster, I said, forcing a laugh. He didn't respond. That's when I noticed his hands were clenched on the steering wheel, tight, white-knuckled, like he was holding something back. His fingernails were dark, like they'd been stained. I stopped talking after that. I stared at the app again, watching the route inch forward. My drop-off point was 5 minutes away. We pulled up outside my building, finally. Before I could even thank him or step out, he turned slightly, just enough for me to see his face again in the mirror. His lips parted like he wanted to say something. But no words came. Just a noise. A gurgling sound, wet, like someone trying to speak underwater. I didn't wait. I yanked the door handle and bolted, barely closing it behind me before sprinting up to my apartment. I didn't even look back. Once inside, I locked the door, turned on every light, and collapsed onto the couch. My hands were shaking. I opened the app, ready to report the ride for the strange behavior, but when I pulled up the trip history, it was gone. No record of the ride, no Daniel, no receipt. Confused, I contacted Uber support. I explained everything: driver name, car, time, even the plate number. It took a few hours to get a response. And when they finally replied, I read the message 3 times before it sank in. Hello, we have reviewed the information provided. The account associated with that name and license plate was permanently deactivated. In September of last year, following the driver's unexpected passing, sorry for any confusion, but no active Uber account matches your description. My mouth went dry. They even attached a link to a local obituary. Daniel Harper, 42, died in a car crash just outside the city while on an Uber ride. The photo, same one from the app, same one from the man who picked me up. But Daniel Harper was buried 13 months ago. I didn't sleep that night. I've used cabs ever since. But sometimes, just sometimes, when I'm walking home late, I see a black Toyota creeping slowly past street corners, cold air rolling from the cracked windows, and the driver, he still hasn't blinked. He said my name before I ever confirmed it, then pulled into traffic already knowing my destination without checking his phone once. I ordered the Uber. I'd just left my buddy's place after a late movie and a few drinks. I was tired, a little buzzed, and definitely not in the mood to walk the 40 minutes back to my apartment. The car that pulled up wasn't what I expected: an older black sedan. Not the SUV the app showed, but the license plate matched, and I figured maybe it was a loaner or the system had glitched. It happens. I opened the back door and ducked in. Before I could say a word, the driver, an older man, maybe late 50s, thin build, with short gray hair, and this eerily calm voice said, "Good evening, Marcus. Home, right?" I paused, seatbelt half buckled. Yeah, I smiled, but didn't glance at the app. Didn't even have his phone on a dashboard mode. He just started driving. I watched the street signs as we moved out. He was heading the right way. My stomach twisted a little. Maybe he'd just memorized the route from past rides. Maybe he had looked at the app before I got in. Still, something felt off. The car was too quiet. No music, no radio, no notifications. Just the hum of tires on asphalt and the faint buzz of the heater. The air inside smelled faintly like something burnt, like melted plastic and old cologne. "So, how was the movie?" he asked casually. Blinked. "I didn't say I saw a movie." He smiled again. "You don't have to." I stared at the back of his head. "Have I ridden with you before?" "No," he said. "But I know your building. You're on the 3rd floor, right? Facing the courtyard?" That's when I felt it. That cold, tightening grip in my chest. I never told Uber my exact unit, just the address. And my apartment doesn't face the street? You'd have to know the layout. I tried to hide the tremble in my voice. "How do you know that?" Silence. He just kept driving. I glanced down at my phone. No signal. Dead zone. When I looked back up, we were no longer taking the usual route. The streetlights were farther apart. Houses had faded into overgrown lots. It was like we'd slipped out of the city without me noticing. "Hey," I said, trying to sound firm. "This isn't the way." He didn't answer. "Take me home," I demanded. "Right now." He kept driving, calm, focused, like he couldn't even hear me. I leaned forward, voice sharp now. I said. He slammed on the brakes. I was thrown into the seat in front of me. When I looked up, he was staring at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes wide, unblinking, like he'd been waiting for me to say that. "Marcus," he said, voice suddenly flat, "you need to stop pretending you don't remember." "Remember what?" He didn't answer. He just drove again, slowly this time. The road narrowed. Trees leaned in closer. I saw no signs, no lights. Just this endless tunnel of black and that same burned plastic smell growing stronger. "You were supposed to go home that night," he said softly, "but you didn't." My blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," he chuckled. "It's what you said last time." We passed a crumpled street sign. I couldn't read it. It had been scorched, bent backward. Then I noticed something ahead. Sharp curve, guardrail bent. Scorch marks, broken glass. And resting just beyond the edge. A twisted wreck of a car. My mouth went dry. It was my car. Same dented bumper. Same sticker on the rear window. Same crack in the taillight. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible." The driver turned slightly, just enough to meet my eyes in the mirror. "You didn't make it back, Marcus." "Not that night." My heart was pounding. I reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. The locks were down sealed. "Let me out," I snapped. But the car kept creeping toward the edge, slowing, turning toward the drop-off. "Some people take a while to accept it," he said, voice almost kind now. "I'm just here to take you the rest of the way." The road disappeared beneath us. Then everything was. They say no body was found in the wreck, no sign of the driver, just a totaled car. Engine cold, sitting in a ditch off a road no GPS could trace. But sometimes late at night, people say they see headlights out there, a black sedan driving slow, no driver visible. And if you listen closely, you might hear someone calling your name before you ever tell them who you are. The car smelled like bleach. The doors locked with a mechanical click the second I sat down. And the driver hadn't blinked once since I got in. I was exhausted. It was past midnight, and I had just finished a closing shift at the cafe. Trains had stopped running, and I really didn't feel like walking the 10 blocks home alone in the dark. So, I ordered an Uber. The car that pulled up was an older black sedan. No logo stickers, just an ordinary-looking vehicle. The windows were tinted darker than usual, and for a second, I hesitated. But the app matched the license plate, and I was too tired to question anything. I got in. The interior lights didn't come on. It was nearly pitch black inside, but I could still see the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror staring back at me. Not glancing, staring, wide open, unmoving, unblinking. "Jessica?" I asked in a voice that was too calm, flat, expressionless. Yeah, I answered, suddenly aware of how tightly I was gripping my phone. "That's me." He didn't say anything else. Just shifted into drive and pulled away from the curb. That's when I noticed the smell. It was faint at first, almost medicinal, but stronger with every breath. Bleach. So much bleach, it burned the inside of my nose, and then I saw it. The seat next to me had a long, dark stain on it. At first, I told myself it was rust or old soda, but my stomach turned when I saw the smears dragged across the seat, up onto the door, and into the carpet. It looked fresh, too red to be anything else. I reached slowly into my jacket pocket for my phone, trying not to draw attention, even though I knew he could see me in the mirror. His eyes hadn't left mine since we started moving. I pretended to yawn and turned the screen away from him. My thumb shook as I tapped open the Uber app. I planned to share my ride with a friend or hit the emergency button, anything but the app glitched. My ride didn't appear at all. It was as if I'd never gotten in. I glanced up. He was still staring. I tried to open the door. It didn't budge. "Sorry," I said, forcing a nervous laugh. "Can you let me out here instead? I forgot I left something at work." No response. He turned down a side street I didn't recognize. I checked the window controls disabled. We were heading away from downtown now. No lights, just dark warehouses and empty lots. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. That's when he spoke again. "You shouldn't have gotten in." I froze. "What?" He blinked. Slowly. There's always one who doesn't trust their gut. I started screaming, kicking the door, punching the window. He didn't even flinch. I aimed my phone at his head, activating the flashlight, trying to disorient him. That's when I noticed something that nearly made me drop the phone. There was blood under his nails, dried, cracked, and worse, there were scratches in the dashboard on the passenger side. Long, desperate claw marks, like someone had tried to escape. My vision tunneled. I was going to pass out. But then I remembered my dad's old advice. When I first started taking ride shares, always check if there's a child lock. If there is, break the window. Don't wait. I reached behind me to the floor. Thank God my bag had a mini umbrella and rammed it into the glass. It cracked. I hit again. Harder. The driver jerked the wheel, trying to throw me off balance, but the window finally gave. I didn't even think. I shoved myself through, scraping my arms and legs as I tumbled out onto the pavement. I hit the ground and rolled, hard. The car screeched to a halt, but I was already running. I didn't look back. I sprinted toward the one flickering streetlight in the distance like my life depended on it, because it did. Eventually, a couple out walking their dog saw me and called the police. By the time they got to where I said it happened, the car was gone. No trace of blood, no camera footage. The app still didn't show I'd ever taken the ride. It was as if it never happened. I sleep with the lights on now. I don't use Uber anymore. Sometimes when I walk past parked cars at night, I catch eyes watching me through the mirror, unblinking.